still connecting. Your audio is connected, but you've muted. You have to unmute. Yeah, you have to unmute. I think it's default muted, so you got to unmute it.
There we are. I think we're good now.
Now we're good. All right. Okay. I've been looking forward to this interview all day because it's about something that is super neat, and I love it. And I see you're outside enjoying the day. I'm very jealous, but I'm enjoying my fine, fancy studio behind me. Look at my fancy sign. So everyone, if you're just tuning in, I got Ian Hearn here, and we're going to be talking for the next little bit about Earthships and what that is, and sort of the concept of building homes that are sort of bioneutral or using materials that are recycled or recyclable. And this is such a great piece. We've talked a lot about net zero. We've talked a lot about, reducing carbon footprint in regards to building. So I think this is a great way to cap off the discussions we've been having. So Ian, why don't you tell us a little bit about Earthships and these kind of structures?
Sure. First off, there's 6 design principles of Earthships. They're harvesting rainwater is one of the key essentials to them, where it's a totally off-grid building, it's self-sustainable, and from this rainwater harvesting system, we have no need to draw from aquifers anymore. We have no need to, keep on drilling holes in the Earth's crust to keep on pumping out water. That's just one of the principles, but food production is one of my personal favorites. You have organic production of fruits and vegetables year-round in your own home. You can literally just walk into the sunroom, so to speak, and graze within it and make yourself a lunch and tour back in again. Like, I don't know how that's not luxury. That's a lifestyle I'd love to be living personally.
Absolutely.
But, if we further on to stuff like sewage treatment, all of it, there's recycling of water 4 times over. So first we'll have, say, a shower or do your dishes with it, and then it'll go within the greenhouse and an underground aquifer, so to speak, a gray water botanical cell. And the plants will help filter it and drink from it. So then there's a second use, and then we pump that into the toilet to use that water a third time instead of using perfectly fresh water, in which is somewhat in a shortage of, or we hear crisis of. And, and then obviously the fourth use, it goes out into the conventional septic tank, and then we'll go into a black water botanical cell, in which again we'll treat it so that the effluent that comes out the other end is deemed drinkable, so to speak. Now, many wouldn't want to attempt that. It's in consideration to any runoff that may go into rivers, waterways, lakes, oceans. A lot of our sewage right now, even in some instances, is pumped directly into the ocean. We can combat this with ease and also have a front yard garden that's just in an abundance from this process. But another is waste management, as you're mentioning there, how Earthships can be built out of 60 to 70% natural and recycled materials. Therefore leaving a negative carbon footprint from its construction. And also, the average conventional home sends about 3 tons of waste to a landfill. And Earthships indirectly remove waste from a landfill from repurposing, reusing, such and so forth throughout natural materials. The thermal heating and cooling is definitely a landmark of an example of this home, where you create a thermal mass in the back of your home, and it obviously holds temperature, not heat, but temperature. So there's been accounts of even, say, Earthships don't work in northern climates. Well, an Earthship is supposed to keep, I believe it's 42 inches off the ground, day, night, winter, summer. It has to be 21 degrees Celsius for comfort of home. Well, the worst case scenario I've heard is 16 degrees Celsius with no furnace, no source of heat, dead of winter. You can be gone for 2 weeks, you come back again, none of your pipes frozen, anything of the sort. So you have additional security as well as comfort with this, and we're not burning fossil fuels. There's a common instance I hear is the average family household does live in an Earthship in Ontario in northern climates. They're burning about 3 cords of wood per winter to heat the home. where on average, for those who do use wood, they know that, you know, you're looking at 20 to more cords of wood each year. So even that drastic reduction in consumption of a finite resource is something to consider and be part of. But the last one is definitely power generation. And why not make use of all the green, renewable, clean energies that we have in abundance? You know, these are not new technologies that have just come out like solar panels. They keep on getting better and better as we go on, you know. So there's also tide and solar, wind, and geothermal and everything else that we can incorporate in this. So
Well, I've just learned a lot about Earthships and the very facets of it. And it sounds, I mean, the word ship, people probably think space age, but it does sound space age. It sounds like a completely contained, and I don't want to say ecosystem, but living system, isn't it? It's a way to bring all the aspects of the structure into one fluid system. That's what it sounds like to me.
It does, and some people are sort of leery when they hear the name Earthship, as you mentioned, like it's too spacey or Star Trek or anything like that. But it's actually a great description, a very accurate description of the building. Like as we've mentioned there, it's gone through, built by natural and recycled materials, but very much like a ship. If you think of a vessel that's crossing the ocean, you can't have water lines and power lines hooked up to it. It needs to be a self-contained system that's providing all of this for those who are within the ship. So this home can be built remotely anywhere with no infrastructure to it whatsoever, and will provide the necessities of life without any infrastructure. And that's one part that I really like of it is, say you were to do a subdivision or a community of these, it wouldn't really be taxing on the local community because you don't need to put in additional water lines and power lines and infrastructure and sewer. You know, it could actually, and also by removing waste from a landfill indirectly. I don't know why this isn't happening more often. You know, very beneficial to the community that they would be placed in. So,
well, waste diversion from landfill, or even waste reduction from landfill, is a very important aspect in regards to the whole sustainability movement. So, Ian, now you are very knowledgeable in this. What's your background in all of this? How did you get involved in Earthships?
Well, I've been in the field of carpentry for over 20 years, and I've watched the evolution of homes from either building them or renovating them, and all the systems that we've attempted to do to create energy efficient homes. And the one that I don't necessarily, I don't know how to put it, approve of, I guess you could say, is that we wrap the houses in foundation, sometimes inside and out, with styrofoam. You know, so that's, the styrofoam is one of the worst products for our environment, and this is the current model of solution where I began looking elsewhere at alternate solutions. You know, how can I be more dependent and reliant on myself? You know, how can I be kinder to nature, better the relationships I have with other people? And it seems to be everything keeps on pointing to Earthships. Like I don't claim it to be the savior of all or the solution to all, but it's a lot better than the common norm that we have of today for building homes.
So, so you've seen both sides. You've spent time being a carpenter. Oftentimes, it sounds like you're always using new materials in traditional home builds, fresh materials. Now, Earthships, you said you're using recycled materials. What kind of recycled materials are we talking to build these sort of home systems?
Well, one of the key ones that's most infamous for them is the tires.
Okay.
What happens is you take tires and you compact them with earth. Now, rammed earth is a very old technique. We use it to build roads. It needs to be tamped and compact before we surface it. The same if you're to do a slab on grade for any typical construction like that. It's compacted, rammed earth, and then this also stores temperature, as I was mentioning. But they're a mortarless brick, and as Michael Reynolds puts it, they're steel belted thermal, or what is it? Steel belted rubber encased thermal mass bricks. They are actually the ideal building material for when you stagger them like bricks, like an average home would. When you compact them, they actually wedge down into the voids in between the lower courses, and they key themselves in. So even in an instance of earthquakes, the home is resilient to shifts and movements like that. It's a very secure and reliable home. But other things are pop cans and bottles. Pop cans, when you place them in cement, you do rows of cement, you end up with a honeycomb matrix throughout the walls. So if you remove them afterwards as a forming material, then you would have this matrix of cement that could be deemed as structural, but most circumstances it's used as non-load bearing walls and forming for concrete. But in this instance, you can add curves to the home instead of the box shape, everything. So that's a really appealing feature for me. And with the bottles, you use them in the same method as the cans, only they'll allow in light. So in an instance of your bathroom, how often at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a sunny day, we got to flick the light on so we can see what we're doing. This isn't need be these, and it'll give a stained glass effect and in any pattern of your desire when you construct your home in this manner. So it's just the way to go for me. I like every aspect of it personally.
This sounds so creative. You know what it reminds me? I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, there's always these shows where they're like, make crafts out of the old egg crates and whatever else you can find in your recycling, but this is the grown-up version of that. It's make a home out of your old Coke bottles.
Agreed, but I also find it's like history coming around to repeat itself. Like if you look at those who survived the Great Depression or their children that are still with us today, they tend to not want to waste anything. You use absolutely all of it or repurpose it. Like, why do we in the disposable society of today, if anything breaks down, commonly we just toss it and go acquire something else, another manufactured product. And the one bonus that I really like about Earthships is that nearly everything is manufactured on site with these repurposed and natural materials. So therefore, you increase creating jobs in a local community where these Earthships are built, that you don't see outsourcing of jobs. You don't see, there's a cheaper way to manufacture this project in another country or what have you. So, everything stays local, from the construction of it all the way down to the end result of it, where you're contributing, harvesting fresh water, you're creating food production for the community. You're doing, say, solar energy, and you can connect to the grid and feed that back into the grid to help the community, as well as creation of green jobs.
So let's talk about that. So you did mention that you're creating energy to put back into the community. How does the house do that? Is it a solar panel piece as part of the construction, or is it a heat pump in this scenario? How does it funnel energy back?
The main ingredient is solar energy, yes, and we can add in a windmill, by example, or many other alternatives of green renewable energy. But in the instance of the bottle wall that I mentioned, how you have natural light passing through in the bathroom, that's one less use of a light switch. All the system are complementary of one another, and from this you have very little use or demand for energy in a home in the first place. As I mentioned, it could be the dead of winter and it's still -16 in your home after you've abandoned it for 2 weeks. So the level of consumption of energy is very minimal. So if you were to apply a standard solar panel system that you would put to a conventional home and you apply that to an Earthship, well, you just have an abundance of creation of clean, renewable energy. So that can be fed back into the grid, any surplus of it.
I love that so much. Okay, so now you've built one, or you involved in building one before.
Yes.
Let's talk about that project. Now, it was a community project to develop this, correct?
Oh yes, it took many hands for many years just to even create it. The main person to give credit to, if I'm correct, is Marianne Griffith. She was the lead of this project called Six Nations Earthship Build. This is the Facebook group name if you want to look it up and check it out or anything. But it was a humanitarian build. There was a crisis of a family that was in need of a home, and a better home at that. And there was an opportunity for people to get involved to better the community. And Marianne Griffith took the lead to that and was able to call up Michael Reynolds and the crew from Taos, New Mexico, from Earthship Biotecture to train the local people on how to do this. Now, I've already researched it for years and was about to build my own regardless, but I seen, hey, this is a great opportunity to get my hands on, and all this and learn something along the way. And because prior to, the only thing I was really lacking was confidence. I have all these years of experience building stuff, but this is something new. To actually have the confidence I'll be able to pull this off? And from that experience of volunteering my time and money and being part of this entire build, it just gave me a supreme amount of confidence that this is no problem at all. Like, a lot of this to be done is non-skilled labor. You don't need a degree in pretty well anything to do this, except for your plumbing, electrician, and engineer. Elsewise, anybody that can swing a hammer, so to speak, is you're hired. You can pound dirt, it's hired. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
That means there's hope for me. What did you learn when you were on that build? You must have found things that surprised you. What surprised you when you actually built it?
The biggest was the tire wall. I was under the impression that it was a very complicated, sophisticated system, but it's actually a very forgiving method of building. Obviously, you want to keep everything level, square, flush, plumb, and all that sort to it. But when you pour the bond beam across the top of it, if you're to have a bit of an inconsistency, the concrete will level it all off. So now you can place all your rafters on the back of that and forecast it out to the front of the home. But along the sides too, say that one ends up being a little bit lower than the other, then you just add a couple more blocks on that side than this side. So there you go, problem solved. Across it, build your center wall. It was literally shocking. And the biggest thing that I was taught out of all of it was how we can change our workplace environment. Each brick in this home was placed by people with positive intentions, love in their hearts, that wanted to do good for the community, that wanted to better the environment. Nobody was, we got to make this done under a certain quota or timeline or stresses, or I'm just here for a paycheck or anything of that sort. And it's a network with so many amazing, beautiful, and like-minded people that just really wish to give back to the community more than anything else. The energy of that home is a home I'd love to live in.
That's a beautiful message. That's beautiful.
It is. And this is my inspiration behind this one. I've been waiting for an excuse, drum up any excuse to create another build, to call up everybody and say, hey, let's do this again. And really, in the times of the world of today, it's almost needed more than ever before.
Well, let's talk about this one, because so you are working on another project for this then.
Yes, I'm working on building an Earthship right now, actually in Trout Creek, Ontario. Its design is more of a bed and breakfast, but it's initially a model home to encourage the development of them, instead of just say going straight ahead and building my own for myself and I stay in it, or say I'd open a business and build one for another person and then there's only one user of it. When we have a model home here, we could welcome visitors in, you could rent it out for a weekend or a month, and then this way you could examine it yourself without putting any serious or significant investments into your own, with uncertainty or a lack of confidence of what the end result may be. So yes, I'm just very eager to begin.
That's so cool. I think that's so neat. Talk about great ecotourism, a bed and breakfast, and you can stay at the most sustainable place you ever will. Like I would go there and be like, I'm going to go check out this place, because I don't even believe it's real. Maybe I do, of course, but as a tourist, I'd be like, I'm going to go see this place. That would attract people in my mind.
Yeah, agreed. And we are on the edge of cottage country, so there's a lot of people that travel up to the Muskokas and even further than North Bay, and I imagine passed out beyond Sudbury and everything for just seeking recreational activities, immerse yourself more deeper into nature. And why not have this as an available option for those people, as well as the ones that are in the local community that wish to whether it just be inquiry, check it out, or you want to go further and build your own, it's available. And our invitation of this is the complimentary breakfast, is the greenhouse. Take your pick.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yes, you take your pick of organic fruits and vegetables right off the vine or right off the stem.
I
So
love that.
I love it personally, and like I say, that's my most favorite part, and that's where a lot of people are like, oh, wouldn't it be a burden to maintain a bed and breakfast and all that stuff? And no, I'd love that. Hey, every chance I can get to go in that greenhouse, make sure everything's just so, and I'm back on my merry way again, and other people to enjoy this, because the end goal of this is to form a crew in the local area. By building this home, I'm willing. There's other people more talented than myself that wish to get involved, and we can form a crew that becomes very skilled and efficient at doing this, and then we can go anywhere in this near north and be able to help other people, be for hire, hopefully eventually create an away team that can go anywhere within Ontario to do this, and see where this can take us. An open invitation to artists.
I mean, I think the artistic side of this is so very important.
Mm-hmm.
But to go first, so what's been people's response to this movement when you tell them, hey, I built this house out of tires? Is it like Three Little Pigs, sticks, bricks, and stone, or is it people being like, yeah, this is really cool, I want to get involved?
And the actual number one thing is it toxic to our environment? That tends to be the number one question that's raised. But on the inside, it's encapsulated in concrete. You do a concrete plaster to seal it off. Now you can do a light concrete plaster and then do an adobe finish over it if you wish to have that finish, but it's still sealed by the concrete, and also along through the back. Earthship or tires cannot burn without oxygen to them. So the fact that they're filled with earth and all the voids are filled and covered, like there is nothing. And tires only off gas for approximately the first 20,000 kilometers.
Okay.
And then afterwards, there is no off gassing. And there's been absolutely zero reports of them leaching any toxic chemicals into the water table or waterways around it. But once you get past that, any doubts or concerns, if there's a negative impact, you end up seeing that there's only positive and positive and positive. Everybody wants to get involved. There's so many people that have been urging me on, and this is another reason why I'm doing this. They're like, build it, build it, build it. I want to get involved. I want to come out for a weekend. I take a month and go camping and help you out while you're at it. And the fact that these have been on the rise, Earthships, the amount of them being built has been on the rise over the years, and forecasting that they'll continue to be on the rise. And there's more and more people interested in it. And, it seems as of late, there's a lot more people that are interested in self-sustainability, growing your own foods, being not necessarily off grid or a hybrid of, but at least being a contributor instead of just being a consumer at all ends. So, the opportunities that this presents for everyone involved in it is truly staggering.
So has the build started for the bed and breakfast, or are you on just like the early stages, or are you right near the end to put a shovel into the ground or pull a tire from the dump? Like, I don't know what the starting thing is.
I'm very ambitious, trying to get this, I guess you could say, started ahead of time. We're still through the final stages of the permitting process. Everything's looking great, but it just atypically the beginning stages always takes 2 to 3 weeks for a test hole to be dug before the septic. The laid ground needs to be graded and prepped. We need to begin to start bringing in building materials. The driveway's already going in right now. Just waiting on the city to do the trench along the roadside properly so that I place culvert and put in the driveway. Everything is scheduled to begin optimistically on July 15th of this year. That's when we wish to start pounding tires. So
pounding tires. That's the best expression. That's when we're pounding tires into the ground.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's
It's a free gym membership.
I
You
love
know,
it.
hey,
Man,
get outside and get your exercise. That's for sure.
Man, I really hope you share pictures about this build because I remember when I was a kid and you see construction sites, you know, your dad stops and he shows you like, oh, look at the trucks, look at what the guys are doing, look at what they're building. And if I was a kid, I mean, I'm an adult, I want to see this thing be formed. I want to see the pieces come together and build. It's like a puzzle, like a bunch of different things I never thought would make a picture is going to come together to make a house. And I think that, or a bed and breakfast, I think that's going to be super neat. Is there a way that people can watch this process? Are you going to put anything online? Are you going to be taking videos? Like what's how are you telling the world about this?
Indeed. Well, first we have a Facebook group called Central Ontario Community of Earthships. That was created immediately right after the Six Nations Earthship build, you know, to keep everybody in contact so that if there's another one on the go, we can all group up again, you know, and there's been many others that have joined the group. I plan on placing this on Instagram as well as Facebook as well. But I I'm a carpenter. I'm not necessarily the best with this technology, or you know, even my little sister, she's an amazing photographer to capture the, you know, the filters, the lens, the lighting, all that. Well, what I'd like to do is put an open invitation out to college and university students who are in the film industry, and by all means, come on down, follow us around, videotape, take pictures of what their skill set is, allow them to contribute it for their own purposes, whether it be a report or a paper or a project or even just their own personal project that they'd like to work on. And in this way, the quality of what we capture will be far superior, I'd imagine, than what I'm capable of doing. I, I'd really like to just stay focused on the building aspect of it, working with other people, training them, teaming up with everyone, and allow you know, those who have their strengths in their own areas to be involved however they wish.
You know, I'll tell you what, I can't build a house, but I can have a stream on the internet.
Well,
You know what? I mean, I respect that. I think what you do is magic in my mind. If you can take a thing and make a house, that is magic. I think that is super cool.
thank you, and a lot of gratitude to you as well, because this message probably wouldn't make it as far without people like you. And it seems to be almost like everybody's already in their place, and not just for Earthships, but for all green, sustainable homes and energy. And you know, everybody's with their strengths are in their place, and everybody's primed and ready to go. And this is why I believe it's time to create a project for everyone to get involved.
I think this is just super neat. So, is there, as we come to the end of this, is there a way that people can still be involved in your project? Obviously, call out to any videographer, any photographer that's listening to this right now. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
there's a chance, but how else can people get involved? Can they come by and help build? Can they bring their old tires? I should stop focusing on tires. But I mean,
That's all right. The bottles is something that's very difficult to get a hold of,
mhm.
especially the different colors. Clear is a common one, but obviously we are open and welcome to volunteers. With it being a smaller lot and a smaller project, and also with the circumstances of today, groups of 10 or less is what we'll be working with. Um, as well, construction has always been deemed as an essential service that needs to be done. So in any aspect, I can't see this stopping in the future over any hiccup or anything. But there is also a GoFundMe that we've launched called Earthship Model Home in near North Ontario. All of the information about this project, link to the Facebook group, Instagram, etc., is all there. What we're, you know, open for looking for outside people and sources and everything like that. There really, it isn't as much of a thing as generating funds, although that would be nice. But it's hoping to create it more of a petition. You know, people leave their comments and everything like that, because what the whole goal is has been to create a community of these Earthships ever since the Six Nations Earthship bill, because all these amazing people, it's like, I'd love to have you as my neighbor, you know, like, wouldn't this be an awesome community to live in? But the one difficulty is obviously financing from conventional banks or even private investors sometimes. But as well, Yeah, geez, I was going somewhere with that.
But I can
It's just
imagine
so
funding
much.
stuff.
There's a lot literally on my shoulders with this, and I've been running a lot of long days. So if it does see a little bit of tiredness in my eyes, I've been trying to hide that. So
I
it
don't.
doesn't stop my ambition.
Well, man, you are tough as nails or tired. My last tire joke, I swear. I love this project. I think this is super neat. And these are the kind of things that we imagine. Like I said, when we were kids and we were like, oh, make a craft out of construction paper and egg crates. Now imagine the home of the future that's environmental. Yeah, I remember those projects in a class. And this is that made real. This is imagination made real, put into fact and building, and is making a huge difference. Ian, I really want to thank you. Just before we go, once again, what's that Facebook group, and is there an email associated with this? Let us hit it out right now so we can share it with the world.
Thank you. C-eco _IH at outlook.com is the email for the group. Central Ontario Earthship Community is the Facebook group, and you can follow me on Instagram at Ian of C-eco.
That's amazing, guys. Everyone listening to this, go take a look. I can't wait for these pictures. And if you're a videographer, go give them a hand. Take some photos. I mean, this is a cool project. Guarantee you're never going to see anywhere else in your life, but hopefully you will see again later on in your life everywhere across the North. Ian, thank you so very much. Thank you everyone for watching. And of course, for being friends of Rethink Green. Take care. Take care, Ian.
Thank you, David. Take care.